KFI AM 640. It's later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And hello, November. Kind of snuck up on us. I hope you had a really, really safe and enjoyable Halloween evening. I was out with friends after the show last night. Went up to West Hollywood. Went to this place called Soho House. You're not even allowed to take pictures there or anything. It's like a super secret, eyes wide shut membership party. You know, people were having sex in the corner, and I felt almost uncomfortable. Felt like joining in, and I said, nah, probably not a good idea.
Little performance anxiety?
Yeah, that, and, you know, I ran into people I knew, and they may tell my wife, and
Awkward.
It was really awkward, you know, but it was great. It was great.
You could have borrowed my red cloak from the Halloween party. You might have fit right in.
No, but I hung out with some friends from college. Shout out to my Hoya Saxa brothers, Joe Pierce, who's with the Atlanta Falcons general counsel. Just want to throw that out there. So, you know, if the Atlanta Falcons and the Rams make it to the playoffs against each other, I need some, like, great seats, Joe. And also Markham Stansbury, my brother from Georgetown. We were hanging out last night, just catching up. And it's always good to be in the company of friends. And that's what, I guess we can say we're in the holiday season now, can we? Because we're past Halloween. All right, so we're kind of in the holiday season, and it's off to a great start with the Dodgers winning the World Series. And for me, I can't say for you, but for me, this particular World Series win was really, really special for a number of reasons. You may remember the Dodgers won the World Series in 2020, but it was the pandemic. The Dodgers only had a 60-game regular season. That's a little more than a third of the games that they usually play. There were no fans in the playoffs, so there was no Dodger Stadium and no visiting games, away games. There was no real energy behind it. And I remember when the Dodgers won, I was standing, you know, in my underwear in the living room. I mean, who was going to see me? No one was going to see me except my wife, and she doesn't care. And I'm saying, yay, the Dodgers won. And like, there's nothing to celebrate. My wife hates baseball. And it didn't feel the same. There was no parade. There was no celebration. One, because it felt awkward to celebrate anything during the pandemic. Let's not forget, nationally, we were losing anywhere from a couple of hundred to almost 2,000 people per day. Per day. We were in a different headspace. So this particular World Series meant a lot. We beat the Yankees. We beat the snot out of the Yankees. The Yankees choked it all away in Game 5. And you had a different type of Dodger team that didn't care. They threw caution to the wind. They talked smack. They were dancing on the diamond, on the bases and everything. And it kind of made sense. They let it all hang out for the parade. I didn't get a chance to go to the parade, but if you didn't get to see it, the videos everywhere, it was, from what I can understand, a pretty good event. Not as many knuckleheads as I feared. There were some knuckleheads, and the speeches at Dodger Stadium were the best. The first voice you're going to hear is Walker Buehler, and he kind of sets the tone. And then it goes into manager Dave Roberts. It's not exactly, you know, great for kids, but he set it off. Couple of F-bombs. How do you do? Oh, and Walker Buehler, he's a pitcher who closed out the Yankees. He's a starting pitcher. He came in from the bullpen to get that save in that ninth inning. He was wearing one of Oral Hershiser's game-worn jerseys. He went to Oral Hershiser, who's now a member of the broadcast team, asked for a game-worn jersey from the 1988 World Series. So if you see the video and you'll see Walker Buehler turn around, he has the name Hershiser on the back. That's not a replica. That is an actual Oral Hershiser jersey worn in the 1988 World Series in which the Dodgers won. I just want to hear more F-bombs. This is Dave Roberts, manager.
What about the Dodgers? One thing I know, guys, they not like us. You guys wanted a parade? We got a parade. Thank you, guys. I want to thank you, fans. I want to thank you, players. I love every single one of you guys. And guys, let's get ready to run this thing back next year, too. Vamos, Kike!
All right, coming up is Kike Hernandez.
Los Angeles, are we live? I got a question for you all. What makes this team different from every other Dodger team?
If you've been listening to the Dodger broadcast and following the team, it was a frequent refrain that we keep getting asked, what's different about this team? Why is it that they were able to overcome another team and other Dodger teams fell short? And the answer they'd always give is usually vulgar, is like, we don't give an F. Okay, that's the reference point.
They said it, not me. Hey guys, 2020 Fan Fest, we got asked some really tough questions. And guess what? I said 2020 decade is going to be the LA Dodger decade. And guess what? Who has more championships than us in the 2020s? Absolutely nobody. Absolutely nobody.
I mean, to be fair, we're still not even halfway through the decade. You know? I'm a Dodger fan and all, but I could pass basic math. And it's only 2024. I mean, if it was like 2027 or 2028, then I'd be more confident in that statement. But, you know.
Hey, where's Ice Cube? Ice Cube, where you at? Hey, Cube, give it up for Ice Cube, people.
And be clear, they're all drunk. Every single one of them are very, very inebriated at this point. Nobody's driving home on their own. Nobody.
Ice Cube came out in game 2. And with his performance, we didn't.
Drunk at noon. They started drinking like at 8 a.m.
Performance, we didn't even need to play the game. We had already won it. Then we go to New York. And this guy, he used to be fat. He's not fat anymore. His name is Joe. He came out and sang. And guess what? We didn't even need to play because after that performance, we had already won.
Straight clowning.
We won at a parade, and look at you guys. We got a parade. I love you, LA. I love everybody. And like Doc said, they not like us, baby.
I don't think that's the lyric to the song, but I'm not going to quibble. Congratulations, Dodgers. Congratulations. Let's do it again next year. Hopefully you won't preempt us. It's later with Mo Kelly. We have rain on the way and also a time change on the way.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And this is going to be a very difficult weekend for me. A very, very difficult weekend. Besides the fact that I have 453 and a half people at my house right now. 453.5 people. And the 0.5 is a newborn, which should count like 3 times because they're very, very loud. It's going to be a very difficult weekend because I'm going to have to deal with the rain, which is on the way, and it's not staying mainly on the plane. And that's going to be an issue. And I actually am offended because it doesn't seem that Mark Ronner wanted to in any way prepare me for this.
Well, it's not that I didn't want to prepare you. It's that I respect you so much that I know that you don't need my help.
Well, you can't help me, but you could have at least said, Mo, be on the lookout. Raindrops might be falling on your head.
Well, I figured that as the caliber of professional that you are, you might have listened to the newscasts that I did here several feet away from you.
I would never listen to any of your newscasts. You're having delusions of grandeur over there, I tell you.
I understand you're trying to hurt me with your words, but it's just not going to work.
Well, let me know if at least I have this correct, that we may get rain as early as tonight, well into the weekend.
Yeah, but it should be over Sunday, and we'll have sun, about 70 degrees on Sunday. So you got basically a day to be nervous that your makeup's going to run.
Now, I need you to be specific. When you say it's into Sunday, are we talking about...
No. It'll be over Saturday. Sunday, we'll have sun.
But Sunday, we then have to deal with the end of daylight saving time.
That's true. And I'm glad you didn't put the S on it, so now you're not going to get a call from Chris Little.
You don't know how many calls and texts I've received from Chris Little over the years. For those who don't know, Chris Little is a stickler for certain words and phrases. Chris Little.
Well, in this case, it's correct.
No, he's correct. I'm just saying he's a stickler to the point of, I remember the first time I said daylight savings on the air, he walked all the way down the hall from the news end of the building and said, Mo, just gotta let you know that it's not plural, it's daylight saving.
Oh, he only walked though? He didn't sprint?
No, he didn't sprint.
Okay.
He didn't sprint. Or at least I didn't see him sprint. Because it seemed like it was maybe a minute or two after I said savings. And then he came down the hall and corrected me.
He just materialized.
Yes. That's one of many times. We've had a back and forth about driver license and driver license.
Yeah.
Whether there's a plural to that or there's an apostrophe S, going back and forth. But Chris is a stickler. Now, that's only me as an air personality. When it comes to news anchors, he will call every segment, every news break with a correction. Now, Mark can't say that, but I can say that.
Well, I say it correctly, or at least I do now.
Well, yeah, that's that one thing, but I'm saying you can never please Chris Little.
Oh, that's not true. I'll say the truth when it's warranted, but in this case, I think it's kind of a bum rap, and it's correct to do it that way.
No, it is correct. Daylight saving is correct. I'm just saying, in the kingdom of Chris Little, it's very hard to please the king.
But I mean, we've all got stuff like that. You can see that my head almost explodes when people say begging the question when it's correct to say raising the question.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So it falls into that category.
Yeah, but there are such things as colloquialisms. It's not necessarily either grammatically correct or rhetorically correct. It's just a colloquialism. Like, for example, a lot of people say chomping at the bit. When it's actually champing at the bit. Yeah. But so many people have said chomping. I don't try to correct people anymore because they say, well, you're just being an a-hole.
You're being pedantic.
True. Yes, I'm being pedantic. But yes, I am. But I would rather you say it correctly. And I think the original saying or the correct saying is have your cake or eat it.
No, it's eat your cake and have it too, actually.
Eat your cake and have it too. That's what
you can't eat it and then still have it.
Right.
But I'll tell you the one that drives me absolutely insane with rage. It's when people, especially people who claim to be Christians, talk about the book of Revelations.
There's going to be more than one. It's going to be like the Matrix. They're going to destroy Zion 6 times.
It's the book of Revelation. 1. Revelation. That's the book.
Look at you with your Christian self.
I'm just saying,
raining down all of this godly knowledge.
I'm just telling you that if we don't insist on correct things when we hear mistakes, then we'll have chaos, people eating breakfast food for dinner. The world will just go down the toilet.
Look, we've already had chaos, and we've had breakfast for dinner for all of my lifetime.
Oh, my God.
And there's nothing you can do. Look, the world is getting ready to end anyway. Tawala Sharp took it upon himself to force this next story upon me, saying that a barrage of 130 earthquakes rattled Death Valley, I guess over the past day over the past month. And experts again, are fearing a big earthquake is about to hit California. 130 quakes have struck in Death Valley since October 9th, less than a month. The largest ones occurred on October 25th and clocked in at 4.7 and 4.5 magnitude. So the big one, according to geologists, just may be on the way. And I'm going to be in Washington, D.C., the 13th through the 17th of this month. So hopefully it'll hit when I'm in D.C.
That's big of you. That's thoughtful.
Isn't survival of the fittest an okay thing? I didn't know that was a controversial concept. If you knew that, well, put it this way, people left where they lived when they knew that the hurricane was coming. Why can't I leave if I think that the earthquake is coming?
Your friends and family need you. The city needs you.
How about this? I will give them the same opportunity that everyone was given for the hurricane. Hey, the earthquake is coming. I think it's going to be when I'm in Washington, D.C., so why don't you go ahead and leave town November 13th? How about it? I've done my service. I'm not trying to create a panic. I'm just saying I'm going to D.C. That might be a good time to go to D.C. right after the election.
Just like Ted Cruz heading to Cancun. Mo Kelly right there.
It's not my job to save everyone. My job is to save one.
Of course.
Those earthquakes are eventually going to hit wherever you're going, sir.
Right, but they're not going to hit D.C. this month. That's all that matters.
Well, we don't know what this swarm of earthquakes is doing. We don't know what's on there.
The whole point is you gave me this article to show that there was going to be a big one in California, not in Washington, D.C.
What happens in Cali happens everywhere. That's how big we are.
Yeah, but not the same month.
Not the same month.
I will play those percentages. I will take my chances that a huge earthquake will not hit Washington, D.C. when I'm in Washington, D.C. Now, whether there'll be some other unrest because of the election not going a certain way, I don't know. That's a distinct possibility, too.
Well, chance favors the prepared mind, so take some Kevlar.
I don't know if Kevlar would be enough.
Yeah, really.
I'm being serious.
You might be right.
Yeah. It's later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. When we come back, we have a lawsuit to tell you about, and it involves Coke and Pepsi. That's all I'll tell you.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And remember when I told you about, I'm not so sure about this whole plastic bag ban. There's so much more plastic in a grocery store, which could be addressed, which should be addressed. That is, if you're serious about addressing plastic and waste and what is truly recyclable. Let me give you an example. Remember those 2-liter bottles? I told you about that. I said, hey, why isn't somebody doing something about the 2-liter bottles of the sodas in every aisle of every grocery store? Well, today, something might be done. L.A. County has sued Pepsi and Coke. And when you say suing Pepsi and Coke, it's all their subsidiary brands. You know, it's all of their drinks which are connected to them. And they're accusing, LA County is accusing Pepsi and Coke, accusing them of polluting this county with plastic bottles and also misleading the public about the environmental impact and recyclable nature of their containers. They're also saying that Coke and Pepsi are contributing to the plastic pollution with them being only single use, and they were engaging in this very specific campaign, trying to deceive customers into believing that they were recyclable. The county contends that the plastic pollution traced to products made by the companies constitutes a public nuisance that they must be forced to redress. Coca-Cola and Pepsi, according to LA County, should be required to pay penalties for engaging in what is seen as unfair and deceptive business practices. And I didn't even know this. I was thinking like, well, okay, LA County is doing something that is not being done elsewhere. That's not true. This is the latest in a string of similar lawsuits across the country on a state and local level. And they're trying to fight against similar companies doing allegedly similar things. An appeals court in Washington, D.C. revived an older lawsuit filed in 2020 by the environmental group Earth Island Institute, accusing Coca-Cola of misleading consumers into believing its business was environmentally sustainable. And there's also Pepsi is fighting a plastic pollution lawsuit, which was filed by New York's Attorney General last year. California's Attorney General, earlier in September, similarly sued oil company ExxonMobil, which produces polymers that are used to make single-use plastic. Now, yes, you can say that there is a political aspect to this because these are coming from, I think, all Democratic jurisdictions, be it Democratic Attorney General and other Democratic areas, which are forwarding and fighting these lawsuits. But it does speak to what I think is a little bit more honest approach to addressing single-use plastics. If you're going to give me another law about single-use plastic bags in grocery stores, I think I will vomit. I don't know how many we've had over the past 7 or 8 years where you can't use these grocery bags, you can't use those grocery bags, you can't use these straws. So it's like that's minuscule in comparison to the other plastic which is on the actual shelves. And I always raise the ire of Mark Ronner when I make statements like this, because I like looking at his facial expression.
Was I making an expression?
No, you will, because when I say that I don't care about climate change, that's when I usually get your attention. And I say that because there are so many other things that I feel that I need to care about, or I don't have the bandwidth to care about everything in my life right about now. And if this country's going to go to hell in a handbasket with respect to sustainability or climate change, I will not be around to see it. I promise you.
What an enlightened point of view. The people in Valencia, Spain might have some notes for you on the subject, since they've been living in car soup the last few days.
I knew I'd get you on the mic.
In fact, I shouldn't have taken the bait. I'm backing away from this because this is just too childish to be part of.
No. I didn't say that climate change was not real. I'm not saying that climate change is not important. Hear me, Mark, and anyone else who may think similarly to Mark. I'm saying I have a list of things that I can emotionally care about in a given day, in a given month, in a given life. Climate change is not going to be on the top 10 of that list.
What's above it for you, Mo?
Economics, racial relations, women's rights. I don't know. I mean, I could
baseball.
No. I'm talking about care about as far as the larger world, international conflict.
Well,
Middle East.
My young Padawan, let me inform you that it's all connected. And if it isn't in your list of priorities now, it will be made to be on that list probably sooner than we think, because all the information that we get from scientists shows us that it keeps happening faster than they all projected.
I'm not disputing any of that. I'm saying for my sanity, my blood pressure, and my overall disposition, I cannot emotionally be concerned about all these things that I cannot control, and I will not be able to impact to any large degree in this lifetime.
Well, emotionally, I'm here for you, Mo. I'm here for you to lean on. I got your back.
Don't you ever think that you get to a certain point where it's like you can't care about everything, honestly?
Sometimes, yeah, but it's part of being an adult. I mean, there are important things that require our attention, and, you don't want to worry yourself into an early grave, but you got to tend to business.
And I would respond this way. Part of being an adult is also making decisions and prioritizing things which are most impactful, most important, and most urgent for you to address you personally.
As an adult, I should have resisted this entire conversation.
I knew I could get you in.
No, I took the bait and I regret it.
I mean, look, I look at, going back to the story, I look at what LA County is doing, suing Coke and Pepsi. That's fine. It's not going to change anything. I think it signals a direction in how our country may look upon the issue of climate change and how we may try to address it on a local level. I'm not talking about our national and international legislation or anything that we may do in partnership with the rest of the world. I'm just saying that, look, there's only so much I can care about in a given day. There's only so much I can worry about in a given day. And if we're going to be hit by a giant hurricane, tornado, earthquake, next week, well, you know what? There's not a damn thing I can do about it. And even if I don't buy any more plastics, there's nothing I can do about it.
It's very frustrating to find out things like we have lately that say all the recycling that we've been laboriously and religiously doing, that doesn't amount to much at all, if anything. That's frustrating.
It may be frustrating, but what does that tell you?
Well, it still tells me that anything that can make a difference, better safe than sorry. Anything that you think will help, what's it cost you to do it? Maybe a little bit of inconvenience? Okay, I'll cope with that.
Yeah, and I have my blue recycle bin, and I put all the stuff that I'm supposed to put in the blue recycle bin. I put it out there this morning because my trash and recycling is picked up on yesterday is picked up on a Thursday. So I do my part. I do what's expected of me. I'm just saying I am not going to go out there and protest. I'm not going to go out there and file a lawsuit. I'm not going to go out there and try to, fight for a piece of legislation. That's for the next generation.
Yeah, leave it for the kids. Leave it for them to deal with.
Seeing as how you're not having any kids, I
wonder why.
I'll leave it to Wallace's kids or maybe Stefan's kids if he gets around to them.
That's big of you, and I still regret.
I will be old man. There would be nothing for me to do.
Wait, how far in the future are you planning on becoming an old man?
I'm an old man now.
There we go.
But think of it this way: in 20 years, I won't be in the workforce. Okay, what is it I'm going to do at that point? I want to enjoy the rest of my life, even if the big hurricane, tornado, earthquake might descend upon my head.
Well, I don't have any intention of spending the entire remainder of my life miserable either. But if you think something will help, why not do it?
And here you've been recycling all this time and it hasn't helped.
Actually, I had a friend a number of years ago who, just to get a reaction from me, we'd be driving in my old Mustang, and he'd throw his ice cream container out the window just to see if my eyes would bulge and I would shriek at him or something. So you're not the only person who's tried to wind me up about it.
All right, how about this, Mark? Okay, I just got a car. It's a hybrid. I'm reducing my carbon footprint. It's smaller now. I recycle and I have a hybrid. Are you freaking happy now?
Like half male, half female? What kind of hybrid?
KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere. The iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Let me tell you about Orange County Mayor Carol Gamble. And she served as the city of Rancho Santa Margarita as mayor and as a city council member for the past 20 years. She's well known, well respected, and this is actually pretty shocking. Today, Gamble admitted to falsifying 20 signatures from registered voters, which would have allowed her to qualify as a candidate for the city council. And as a result, she pleaded guilty and is barred from office. Gamble pleaded guilty to one misdemeanor of the California Elections Code, making a false affidavit concerning signatures appended to an initiative rather than felony perjury. The document that she signed, well, you're required to sign it under penalty of perjury. So that's why she was facing the possibility of being convicted of a perjury. But with the guilty plea and the plea deal, down to a misdemeanor. As a result, she will have to serve 160 hours of community service. And check this out. Submit her DNA and pay restitution that will be determined after the election. This is a real question I have. It's a genuine one. Why would someone have to submit their DNA for an elections violation? I understand, identification, but DNA? I understand if it was a sex offender, submit your DNA. But for one misdemeanor of making a false affidavit, how does the DNA come into this? Now, Mark, you were a police reporter, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, just cop speak reporter.
Okay. Have you heard of this before?
No, we're well into Minority Report territory now, aren't we?
So it's just not me, because this struck me as really, really odd. It's like, why would you be submitting your DNA as part of a plea deal for an election code violation.
Did they mention how they'd like it submitted?
No.
Wait, was it at high velocity, perhaps?
Look, they didn't say swab. They didn't say urine. They weren't specific like that.
In a balloon, maybe?
They just said submit her DNA.
It seems like a bit much, doesn't it?
It just seems completely unrelated. But, it was a condition of the plea deal. But in her affidavit, Gamble said she witnessed the supporters sign the document. However, numerous voters who signed her paperwork told investigators that she did not witness them signing the nomination forms. So I'm unclear as to whether the people didn't exist or she just lied about having viewed and witnessed the signing of the forms. And
I think this story, we had this on the night of the party, and so all those details aren't clear in my head any longer. But the point remains that the DNA thing seems like a bit of overkill.
It seems overkill, and I wonder where that was in negotiation. It's like, look, if you don't give us your DNA, we're going to charge you with the full felony, and you're going to jail. You're going to prison. That has to be somewhere in the negotiation.
I mean, you don't need Philip K. Dick to see very far into the future that we're entering a phase where anytime anybody has a conviction and they have to surrender their DNA, it goes into a database. And I'm not some conspiracy freak either, but it does. It does go into a database. And we read in the news over and over again, more and more lately, about people getting caught that way all the way across the country for something they did years ago, that there's a DNA record of them now.
Or there is a partial match or a familial match, which leads back to someone. This is something that you and I actually definitely completely agree on. I mean, completely. This is unnerving to me, where I think that for any crime having nothing to do with actually DNA related would then necessitate someone submitting their DNA. That has all sorts of unintended consequences and problems that I'm not comfortable with.
It's completely dystopian. And the thing is, I think you and I love all the same shows, like all the cop shows and like the MI5 secret agent, federal agent type of shows where they use this stuff to track down bad guys. What's Mark's number one rule of technology? If you don't remember it, it's
Cui bono.
Okay. That's not the tech rule, but that's certainly one of them.
Yeah.
The rule of technology is that the very worst stuff you can imagine being done with it is guaranteed to be done.
And not to, get too far into the Star Chamber. There was this recent Law and Order episode that I watched. I think it was Law and Order SVU. And the premise was there was a woman who, because she submitted to a rape kit, her DNA was in the system. But then law enforcement used that information illegally to track her for a different crime.
Totally plausible.
Completely plausible. And I think about what happens. Look, I don't think my DNA is in the system. I know my fingerprint is in the system because I was fingerprinted as a portion of working with kids in the city of Carson. So that's one of the things you got to do. You have to do a drug test and you have to be fingerprinted. So I know I'm in the national database. If I were to mess up, everyone's going to be able to find me.
Yeah, it's always used for good in all the entertainment we like, but it'll be abused. Make no mistake.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Well, that's about it for Halloween. Are you ready for turkey and family and Christmas shopping and cold and dark and sad and New Year's resolutions and bowl season and making reservations for Valentine's Day?
Yeah, table for two. Hello?
Say no more, because here it all comes.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live